So we have covered a major portion of our application. So let's just start by like embedding everything inside a navigation view. So the idea behind using navigation view is that we would be able to add a title to our one and only page of this application. So just inside the final bracket containing the navigation view, which would be like the fourth or the fifth bracket from now, inside that we would add a text, not exactly a simple text type, it would be a navigation bar title, and inside that we would write a normal title like choose your anime or something like that. And I think it would be much more presentable that way and will make the user understand like what it is actually asking. So yeah, now we are done with it, so let's just try it out that how it is working. So you can see that it hasn't changed much of it, and you can see the declarative thing that when once you scroll down way to the bottom, it changes its style, and it looks really decent, I would like to say. So since we have done this much, you can see that in the assets column I have several different images of other anime as well, which we would use as suggestions. So we would make a switch case and bring out the arrays which would contain the names of these anime. So for that we would like to have those arrays ready. So in order to do that, let's just copy this big array that we have already created, and we would from it we would create like five more arrays which would include like two anime names each, and we would name them differently. So let's just do that. I have seen quite a lot of anime, so it's easy for me to like just simply write down their names. So that's what exactly I'm doing right now. So it won't take me like really long, and also I already had them written somewhere. So I'm just copying it down from that place. So these are my personal suggestions actually. I did not use any website for that, like what anime I should suggest for a shonen lover or something. If you're into anime, you could understand what shonen genre I am referring to. So like yeah. So these were like completely randomly suggested by me only. So these are the anime names which I wrote. I think most of you would have watched at least one of them. So now that we are done with this much part, it doesn't really affect our view obviously because nothing of this is inside the body property. But now that we have done this much, we can just easily start our switch case statement, which would be inside the v stack only. Remember, we had a z stack, a v stack, and we have a scroll view as well, but you need to add this switch case statement inside of that v stack only, and just below our text property which we wrote just in the previous video, as you may have remembered. So I remember that switch cases need to have a default case as well. The idea behind my plan is that since we have five arrays and like five animes that we are allowing the user to choose from, so we would be having like four cases and one default case which would contain the fifth uh, anime array choice. So let me just create the first structure of the case 1 and we can just copy paste it. So look exactly how I am doing this. Like suppose the case is 0. The index 0 refers to the first option, that is Shinjeki no Kyojin, and then obviously we are looping over the array that we just created, which is named choiced1, the very first array that we created, and we're using the id property as well here since it is a local array, and for using for each we need to use this id property to distinguish each and every item as a unique item inside that array. So we just used a simple variable choice, then choice in, and we created an h stack. The reason why I created an h stack is because I would like to show an image as well as text both placed in a horizontal manner. So that is why I used an h stack. So it doesn't really matter if you place the text code first or the image code first, it just gives it a left or right preference. So if you write the image code first, that I have just did, and I've added some simple properties here as well, like resizable and clip shape and everything, so it would just make it better. Here Swift automatically suggested me that I should add this default property, but since I was not ready to make this, cause I have not created my case 0 only, so I will wait for a time, for a few seconds, and afterwards you can add this property again. So for now, let's jump back to our case that we were doing. So the image property needs a little bit more work, like we haven't assigned a frame width or height to the image, we haven't assigned any stroke color or a shadow modifier that I think would look better. These are just the modifiers to like make our app again more presentable. It's not something necessary. You could just write the normal image property as well and it would work okayish, but exactly you need to resize it. So like 2 3 modifiers are to be required. So I'm just racing through all these modifiers, and it's not something really complicated. Once I'm done with first case, we can just copy paste the entire thing for rest of the 4 cases, and afterwards we just need to change the array inside of the for each loop. So we would loop over all the arrays that we just created above. Those are like choice 1 to choice 5. So yeah, now I'm done with the image property, so I'm just moving on to the text property. And like we give some properties to the title, which says what you should watch now. That's written with a red background, as you can see in the screen. We would like kind of give it a similar touch. Maybe I would like to give it a green background for this one. It's totally up to you. Now you can get creative here. Maybe you don't write text in Swift UI only and just write text somewhere in your Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator application, and then you can import that as an image as well. So you would be placing like 2 images side by side. So that's also a good option actually. It's totally up to you actually. You can like modify your application really well, but since this video was not about designing and was about understanding the state property and how we are utilizing it, so that is why I did not paid much attention to this whole thing. So now that we have successfully created the case 0, now we can just add more of the cases. So this would be the last option obviously. I just gave it the value of choice 1, but later on I would change it. Obviously it would hold the 5th case. So for now I would be adding the rest of the cases. Now I'm just quickly adding those cases and just changing their indexes as well as the array that they are looping inside them. This is not really a tough task. We are just adding them one by one. Now let's just check the live preview. You can see if we select the first option, it gives us these recommendations that you should watch these 2 shows. And if you just select the second option, then it gives you different recommendations as described inside our array. It's exactly what it's showing us, since we coded this inside the switch case, the exact thing. So I think it should work fairly fine for all of the other cases. So let's just go through them to make sure that it's working all fine, and it's all happening just because of that selected anime property that we wrote with switch. As you know that switch has been selected anime has been declared as a state property, and since we are using two-way binding on the binder, on the picker, so when the picker changes the value of the selected anime from 0 to 4, like any integer, like we just chose like the third or the fourth number here, so it changes the value of selected anime, and based on that our switch case, the case corresponding to that integer value, showcases the anime recommendation. And you can see we just messed up a little bit here. You see that the default case is not showing up. It may be because of the reason that we have added an extra case here. Also inside the default we have actually added choice one array, which was for the first anime. So now we have just cleared it, and I think we don't really need this last case since it's doing the same thing and default is already there to do the thing. So actually our app is completely done here. So we successfully made use of the state property and created this application which suggests the user some anime that we just hard coded on our own, and it does not really require you really in-depth knowledge of anything, and we did not even did any data decoding, JSON decoding or anything. And I feel like this is a really useful application to to help the beginners understand the use of state property. So I hope you learned a lot from this tutorial. I've just paused the video right here, so I think you learned a lot. So maybe just leave a review down below, like how you like the course, and I would be making sure like launching new videos soon which would cover in-depth and more in detail videos. So this is just the first part of that series, so I hope you liked it. Again, thanks for watching, and thank you.